Hello, let's try this again. The audio seems to be back on. Technology likes to, make it difficult for you sometimes. So, hello. I'm Jennifer Nascimento, and you are watching your everyday English lesson right here on English Outside the Box. If you're brand new and you don't know what everyday English lessons are, well, they are live lessons like this to help you improve your skills for everyday life. Everyday English skills are the skills you need to live, work, study, and travel more comfortably and confidently in English and using your English. So this week, we are coming back and reviewing notes from last year's October Learning Plan. We are reviewing the October Learning Plan series. We're reviewing all of the exercises from the October Learning Plan from last year because there are so many valuable resources, links, and so many activities for you to be doing every day this month to improve your skills. Last week, we focused on vocabulary. And through my blog, through my website, EnglishOutsideTheBox.com, and through Instagram, English Outside the Box, or at JenESL760. On Instagram, we also did a lot of vocabulary challenges. The challenges, the activities, and the learning are going to continue this week, but we're going to be focusing on our listening skills. So I'm so glad everyone can hear me now in the chat. So we're going to be talking about listening, and we're going to be reviewing 8 ways that you can improve your listening skills in English using the links and resources and tips and activities that I share with you today. It's not going to be number one, but by watching this lesson and completing or coming to this live lesson, you are doing one thing to start improving your listening. These live lessons are all about improving your listening skills because I, a native English speaking teacher, am teaching you speaking at a pretty quick pace, and you must listen, follow along, and understand what I'm giving in this lesson today. However, if I do speak a little too quickly for you, all of the lesson notes for this video will be available on my website later today. So the website to get the lesson notes and to review hundreds of English lessons is EnglishOutsideTheBox.com. On that website as well, there are going to be all of the links that we're going to talk about in today's video. If you're watching the replay of this video, there will be some buttons you can push. It'll have an eye with a circle in it up here that will lead you directly to some of the resources as well. So let's get into it. The very first thing that you can do this week to improve your listening, tip number one, way number one, is going to be participating in my Instagram listening challenges. My Instagram listening challenges are going to be challenges. They're going to be small exercises giving you a task, giving you something to complete. I'm going to maybe talk on a video and ask you a question. Maybe I'll use particular grammar and you need to identify the time or what it means. Maybe I'll use new vocabulary, phrasal verbs. The challenges are going to help you improve your listening. So you definitely want to head over to my Instagram and follow my Instagram if you're not already. Turn on notifications so you are notified when I post a new challenge. There will also be some things happening on Instagram stories. So a lot of ways to improve your listening on Instagram. And just so you know, you can find that by searching English Outside the Box or Jen, JENESL 760, and definitely participate in the Instagram listening challenges this week. Tip number two, way number two, the second way you can improve your listening is going to be using podcasts, using podcasts. Podcasts are an incredible, incredible, incredible way to improve your listening. So on the notes from today's lesson, there's going to be a link with a video teaching you 5 ways to use podcasts to improve your English skills. However, I'm going to give you one of those tips now and then tell you to go watch the video to get more. One of the tips to improve your listening with podcasts is to find a podcast created for an English-speaking audience about something related to your career, your job, or your interest. So you want to increase your connection to English and get more listening from a variety of resources, not just English teaching materials. So the second tip is to review a video teaching you 5 tips for using a podcast. That video, that link, everything is on my website. Day number 2 is going to connect you with another English teacher from Leo Listening. Leo Listening helps you a lot with improving your listening skills, and she has a little game that she has given to put on my website. So the link for her game is on today's lesson notes as well. Day 3 is utilizing music. So music is a great way to improve your listening skills. You can learn lyrics, you can review pronunciation, you can even learn some cultural aspects of a country by hearing what they say and hearing what a musician sings about. You can improve so much with music. And so I want you to put music on as much as you can in the background of your daily life this week. I want you to really focus on putting as much listening as you can in your background. So music, as I mentioned, podcasts, these videos, Instagram challenges, surrounding yourself as much as you can, and music being a really fun, a really effective way to do that. I mentioned a podcast, and hopefully you all know that I am a co-host of an English podcast with my good friend Dan from across the pond from the UK. So Dan and I host an English learning podcast, meaning our goal is to teach English and to help you learn more English. Dan's from the UK. I'm from the States, I'm from America, so you're going to get the opportunity to hear different accents. There's also a lot of times that Dan and I use some different vocabulary and words that vary in US and the UK. So by listening to English Across the Pond, our podcast, you can get more opportunities with US and UK English, vocabulary, accent, intonation, the way we speak, and you can have a lot of fun learning with Dan and me on this podcast. So in today's lesson notes, I've included a link to a fun episode we have, 10 tips to nail your job interview. So if you're needing English for work or for job interviews, then the podcast that I've included in today's lesson notes will definitely help you out. So we have a live question in the chat from Rasmus saying, what do you think about dictation? It's too energy consuming and tiring, but it helps, I think. The next tip I'm going to talk about is dictation practice. So listen and write what you hear. So dictation is an activity that you are going to listen to something and write down what you hear. So I've given you tips for podcasts, for music, so you can utilize some of those resources, or you could maybe watch some news, some TV shows, movies, or some other form of listening. And you definitely want to try to write down what you hear. There's a couple of ways that you can do dictation practice as well. You can listen to a very small text, maybe 1 minute, and try to write down everything. Or you can focus on the main idea, the main meaning. What's the vocabulary words you hear? What's the main idea of things that you heard? So dictation practice is really great because you can listen, you can write something down, Then you can go back, listen again, and check your work to see if you understood correctly, to see if you missed anything, and to begin to identify where some challenges may be. Your next dictation practice is going to be from another English teacher online, Kirsty. And Kirsty also is going to tell you a little bit more about podcasts. And Kirsty from English with Kirsty is going to help you with listening as well. So the links for her resources are on the lesson notes. And finally, I am sure everybody has heard of TED Talks. TED Talks are a really great resource to practice your listening. Got distracted from a question in the chat. So TED Talks. TED Talks are a really great way to learn English and learn about some incredibly interesting topics. However, if you need to go a little deeper, if you want to use TED Talks with a little bit more focus, more educational focus, you can use TED Ed lessons. And if you Google TED Ed lessons, or you click the link in my website lesson notes from today's video, you're going to see these TED Ed lessons. TED Ed lessons are lessons from TED Talks, from YouTube videos that teachers have made into an English lesson. So there are comprehension questions, there are discussion questions, there are often additional resources connected to the video to give further explanation or to continue thinking, talking, and learning about the topic. So TED Ed lessons are a great way to use TED Talks with a more educational focus to improve your English. Coming back to a question in the chat, Rasmus had that question about dictation, and they said the problem would be there are no transcriptions to check what one wrote down. So as you said, TED Talks are great because there are transcriptions of what you said. There are transcripts of what's said for you to check your dictation, to check what you wrote down. I also want to tell you about English Across the Pond. So I mentioned podcasts are a really great way to improve your listening skills. And I told you about the podcast that I co-host with my partner, Dan from the UK. Now, MA wants to know if I have a podcast using idiom and phrasal verbs. So yes, English Across the Pond, my podcast with Dan from the UK, focuses on using idioms, phrasal verbs, and natural English. And the great thing is you can sign up, you can become a member of English Across the Pond. And when you become a member of English Across the Pond, you get a study plan to help you review, learn, and practice those idioms and phrasal verbs. And when you're a member of English Across the Pond, you also get a transcript. So if you want to use podcasts for your dictation practice, and you want those transcripts to check what you've written down and to learn even more, then definitely sign up and become an English Across the Pond member. Get your study plans, get your idioms and phrasal verbs, and definitely get those transcripts. Great questions coming in the chat. So those were the 8 tips for you to improve your listening today. I want to know if you have any questions about what we learned today. You can definitely write them in the live chat right now, and I can answer them in this live lesson, or comment below this video and I will do my best to answer them later. But a quick review of what you can do. Number 1, follow me on Instagram and participate in this week's Instagram listening challenges. You can find me at JenESL760. Number 2, you want to use podcasts. I mentioned using podcasts for English speakers about topics that are interesting to you or topics that you need in work. And my website notes are going to have 4 additional tips of using podcasts. Number 3, you want to head to the lesson notes today and click the link and review some more listening with Leo Listening. Cara from Leo Listening will help you with that. Day 3, you want to, or the next tip, you want to use music. Use more music in your daily life. Surround yourself in music and use it to hear pronunciation, intonation, learn new vocabulary, learn about culture. You can also use it for dictation practice. So dictation practice, listening to something and writing down what you hear. English Across the Pond. English Across the Pond is a podcast that I co-host, created for English learners to help you with idioms, phrasal verbs, more natural English, listening to a conversation with American English and British English, help you with different accent recognition and use. And I mentioned dictation practice already. And then Kirsty from English with Kirsty will help you understand how to use podcasts more. She has a podcast that she can connect you to more listening practice with. And finally, the TED Ed lessons. So that's a review of the 8 different ways that you can practice and review listening skills in English today and this week. I'm going to pop into the live chat, answer some questions, and then we're going to wrap up this video. Remember, you can get all of the lesson notes from this video on my website today, EnglishOutsideTheBox.com. Click on blog and free lessons, and you'll get all of the notes that you need. Seafull says, to understand CNN news is easier than movies. How can I understand the sound in the movies? You want to identify, why is CNN news easier for you to listen to? Is it the way they speak? Is it the accent of the news host? Is it the vocabulary that they use? And then why are the movies more difficult for you? Is it the accent of the actors? Is it how fast they speak? Is it the language, the vocabulary they're using? So if you always listen to CNN, then that's going to continue to get easier and easier and easier for you. So then think about challenging yourself. If CNN news is really easy, then maybe take a pause with CNN, focus more time on movies, TV shows, and get yourself connected to more natural English. Because TV shows and movies have actors that are speaking more naturally. They're speaking quickly. They're using reduced speech, connected speech. They're linking sounds. They're linking words. And it's much harder to understand than a news anchor that speaks very slowly and pronounces every word to make sure he's understood. So you got to give yourself more opportunities to hear more natural English. Final question today. What do you suggest for learning to hear sounds that one is not familiar with? For example, for me at the moment, I can't distinguish the V and the W. You want to go onto EnglishOutsideTheBox.com. I have some lessons about P and B in different sounds that are difficult, but nobody can compete with the amazing Rachel from Rachel's English. Rachel's English is a YouTube channel that if you haven't heard about, you're probably been sleeping under a rock, because she is such an amazing American English pronunciation teacher. So a bonus, a ninth way, the number 9 way today to review listening is to go to Rachel's English and review her different videos with sounds, consonant, vowels, blends. She has a lot that are already made and ready for you. So that would be a great way to do that. All right, guys, I am going to wrap up this English lesson and start working on the notes for this lesson. So improve your listening today. Let's start with Instagram challenges. Head over to Instagram, follow, turn on your notifications, and get ready for your first English listening challenge today on Instagram. The live lesson notes from this video will be available on my website later on today. Head over to EnglishOutsideTheBox.com to listen more. If you liked this video, share it with a friend, share it with a colleague. Help me teach more people around the world. And if you have not already, hit subscribe so you can learn more everyday English with me in the future. I hope you liked today's lesson. I'll see you soon, and happy studying.